Hey everybody, this is Perch, and yesterday afternoon I recorded a video that was released this morning regarding AT&T's reported interest in moving WarnerMedia out and merging it with Discovery to form a new entertainment venture. Now, AT&T would still maintain some shareholder rights and certainly a vested interest in the company, but this would create this new, more or less standalone entertainment venture. And it was rumors yesterday, later in the day, and today those rumors were confirmed. However, just for what it's worth, no deal is done until it's done, and this deal will face some scrutiny simply because it is a very large entertainment venture. It's going to combine a number of entities together, and that's going to require some review. It's not just going to be something that's going to silently go through and then next week it's all done. It's going to require some, there will be some people who object to it. I have to imagine even folks like Disney would file an objection, even though Disney has a larger entertainment stake, simply because of the competitive nature of the space. But if this is true, and if it does happen, if it does go through, and I believe it will, I don't think there's any reason to suggest that it will be it'll be blocked. People will try, but it'll be tough to block this deal. This would merge Discovery Plus and HBO Max. It would merge Discovery and WarnerMedia, and this would basically bring together a lot of the WarnerMedia brands, which includes WB, HBO, the Cartoon Network, CNN, Headline News, Cinemax, Turner Sports, Adult Swim, TNT, TBS, along with the Discovery channels, which would be OWN, Animal Planet, Eurosport, TVN, SCI, HGTV, which is probably a bulk of a lot of the content, Food Network, which is another big piece, TLC, Discovery, Magnolia Networks, ID, TVN, and of course, DC Comics, among other, plenty of other even smaller entities in there. So what does this mean in terms of content? Well, from the streaming platform, it's highly likely that HBO Max would continue. It may be rebranded HBO Max Discovery or who knows what kind of crazy things would go on there. But HBO Max does have the larger subscriber base by, I think, a factor of about, I want to say 8. In terms of what Discovery has. However, Discovery has a very strong, very stable position in terms of both the entertainment content they put out and the volume. One of the things that we see indexing very, very high in streaming services is reality TV content. It seems to go over well, it seems to sell well, and it works. So it is very much, this content is going to give a huge shot in the arm boost to the existing subscribers of HBO Max, and it will consolidate things and will firmly set this new combined venture as the number 3 company behind Netflix and Disney Plus, respectively, and that's where they want to be. Look, in the end, you're not going to have 8 streaming services. They're going to continue to contract over the next 2 years, and there's going to be bidding wars for like the Peacock library and Hulu and other things. Disney is likely to fold in Hulu at some very near point, and you're going to see basically us. What will shake out will be 4 to 5. And magically, you'll find that the amount of money you're paying for the 4 to 5, if you buy all of them, will remarkably resemble what you're paying for all-in cable. just as a funny coincidence, that's most likely what we'll see. But I asked you to ask questions, and this deal got a little bit more firm. So let me answer some of these questions for you. And the biggest one is, what does this mean for DC? Well, like I said yesterday, and talking to a few people this morning, I'm more certain of it than ever. This is, in the short term, good news for DC because their parent company, the people who are ultimately at the top, are going to value entertainment content more than AT&T did. That's a plus. It just means you have a better synergy with the people in charge. I still maintain that long term, you're going to see more of a push for profitability. Now, somebody asked, wait a minute, I thought you said DC was already profitable. They are. They actually are. They're not a losing money entity. However, profitability for a public company means growth and expansion, and it's not just making $1, but making $100. It's the profitability metric and number is going to have to increase. it's going to mean that the efforts that are going to come out are going to have to point to some broader strategy. That's where we're headed there. So it is, that could be good news. It is interesting to see. One of the other questions: does this mean Daniel Cherry is going to leave? I'd be surprised. I think, if anything, this is good news for Daniel Cherry. He arguably gets a bigger profile in this company and this entity doing what he's doing, especially with where he's positioned himself as combining media ventures, what he's done with Fortnite. This is good news for his career, as opposed to with AT&T, where there was a lot of layers between him and upward career growth. It's going to be hard. Here, there's far more of an opportunity to stand out. Now, the other side to that blade, of course, is that, if you're bad at your job, you're going to stand out. So it's for everybody concerned. This provides a little bit more exposure and a little bit more, you could argue, accountability in this piece. The other question that came up quite a bit is, but Perch, why do you think they care about comics? This isn't a comic company. This is one that you're seeing some videos already rolling out saying, big entertainment companies are not going to care about comics. Well, I disagree with that, and I disagree with it for a very fundamental reason. And arguably, you could see in the press releases and the comments and the things that are being stated, when they say an entertainment entity, when they say attacking all verticals of entertainment, they include publishing there. They include movies. They include shows. They include all these different pieces. No company that is trying to build a media venture is going to say, yeah, and we're going to specialize completely and entirely in streaming media. Even Netflix has its fingers in other pots. And they're arguably a digital first company from the start. These other businesses, they do want to have their hands in all these pieces. They do want to own that ecosystem, and publishing is a piece of it. We've been hearing now for what's got to be at least 20 years, people saying books are dead. As soon as the first Nook came out, or Barnes and Noble Reader and the Kindle and these other devices, we were hearing that books were dead. And tech adopters, people who tend to be more prolific on social media, were quick to point out that it's way more convenient to walk around with a tablet reader, and we're going to see the publishing is dead. But publishing is dead is something that's been going for decades now as an argument, and it's not. The sales and numbers in publishing are doing quite fine. You could make an argument of, hey, Japan is tech forward with a lot of this media entity, and hell, they have some physical restrictions to just space and other things. For them, digital actually makes even more of an answer, and publishing is still very, very healthy in Japan. And so the idea that by its nature, by just combining these entities, people are going to say, well, what do we need? We don't need a comic book company. No, they need a foothold in publishing. And comics are a way to have a foothold in publishing. Now, I will say that the idea that they're only going to publish to the direct market, and I've said this before with AT&T, and I think the only reason why Disney hasn't done more is Disney's had their interest in a lot of other places, and their publishing business has always been at arm's length. They haven't had it sewn in until recently, like other companies do. But I do think that this idea of comics only being sold by the direct market is going to end, and maybe it is a transformation of more OGNs, more graphic novels, less floppies. Maybe somebody gets a business model right where, the floppies are kind of the loss leader for getting the comics into the graphic novels, and we double down on that strategy. But regardless, nothing in this announcement and nothing in the statements by the individuals and nothing in how business works tells me that they're going to go after comics. I think that part is definitely not on the chopping block. They want to own all the different spaces. They want to own it for marketing. They want to own it for brand shelf presence. And it's if you've ever actually worked and talked to an entertainment company and not a hysterical lunatic, they will tell you that you want to own the customer eyeballs everywhere you can get them, on the screen, on the shelf, everywhere. And this is how they're going to look at this. Like I said, I do think people are going to give a sideways look at why in the world. Why in the world are we still publishing only through the direct market? Why aren't comics more places? I definitely think that conversation is going to be had. I think people are going to point to some of the numbers on Amazon and other places for graphic novels. But the idea that this is going to end comics is silly. It's not based in actual any history. What this means, most likely, like I said, is more exposure. This is going to be a public company. They're going to have to publish an annual report. You are going to see publishing numbers. They're not going to hide and fold this stuff in, and how they start describing this business will be interesting. It will, is there a possibility? One of the other questions, some more layoffs. Possible. DC is pretty thin. I think some of these other entities between WarnerMedia and Discovery, particularly some of the broadcasting and some of the marketing, I do expect more consolidation there. But I'd be surprised if it hit DC. They just don't have a lot of staff to give, to put it bluntly. So we'll see how that all works out. But I tend to doubt it. But in general, it's an interesting move. I think there will be positives and negatives. I think that you're going to see you're going to see a lot of things, and I think it's important to look at kind of the general media in general, overall. I still maintain, and I have a little bit of inside information on this, that the company to watch over the next 6 months is more Marvel. We have the Penguin Random House deal, but there are some other shoes that are going to drop there, and that's going to be the more interesting one to kind of track how all that's going to roll out. But anyway, keep asking your questions. Let me know if you have new ones below in the comments, and most importantly, that we'll see where this all leads. So thanks for listening.